Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Reverend Karen coming at you from Fearlessly Feral Living. And I have two absolutely wonderful guests today, Reverend Gil Olmstead and Robyn Rice Olmstead, practitioner emeritus extraordinaire. And I'm very happy to have them on my show. And I am so happy to have them here. I mean, I just repeated myself, but I've gotten to know these two over the last few years, and they've been out to my house to visit me. Their godson, one of their godsons, has ridden one of my horses. It's just been wonderful getting to know them. So before we start a conversation, which we have kind of planned, and I think it's going to be wonderful, I want to give you my ever-present intro. Welcome to Fearlessly Feral Living, broadcasting to you from the Woogie Ranch out here in the back 40 of northwestern Nevada, where I'm a half an hour away from the nearest gas station and the nearest grocery store. This is a podcast devoted to using new thought principles to ensure successful, creative living. Fearlessly Feral is a focus ministry of Centers for Spiritual Living and is devoted to the vision of a world in which everyone lives fearlessly feral, in other words, wild and free. So I would like to formally introduce these two to you and give you a little bit more information about them. Robyn calls herself an artivist, which is a blend of artist and activist. And I think that's absolutely wonderful. And I might steal that from you, by the way. She's also an actor and a writer, in addition to, as I said, being a practitioner emeritus, which means she's been a practitioner with Centers for Spiritual Living for over 20 years. That's a long time to be in service and of service. And practitioners are really cool people. They're really cool people. They have helped me a lot in my ministerial career. Robyn has been a teacher. She works with kids and adults. She's doing a workshop pretty soon called Your Voice Matters. And Reverend Gil, well, I first met Reverend Gil when he came on board as senior minister of the Real Grande CSL, Center for Spiritual Living, where I had been serving as interim minister. And I soon learned that this guy has a wicked sense of humor, that he is not afraid to throw around at people. He gave me, what did he give me as a going away present at group level in front of the whole congregation? I forget what it was, but it was quite humorous. I think it was a Burt's Bees.
Yes, it was.
Or something. Yeah. Yeah, it was quite humorous. And that sense of humor kind of runs through everything. Gil is a collaborator and he likes to bring people together. Both of these people are going to the Conference of Americas in Mexico. And that conference is going to be held August 5th through 10th, coming up in less than a month now in Lake Chapala. And they're doing a workshop there as well called Bring On the Light. Reverend Gil is also going to be a speaker at Conference of Americas in Mexico. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that and give you some information about that at the end of the podcast. But I want to open today by talking a little bit about relationships, because one of the things I've always admired about Reverend Gil and Robyn is that they have a unique relationship that works for them. Now, when you do something in life that works for you, you know it works for you. And the way to get there is to have a little bit of courage, an open mind, a lot of spiritual practices under your belt, and to be willing to step out into the unknown and say, this is what's working for us, and we're going to do it even if it's not commonly done, which it isn't, because these two have what they call a remote relationship or a remote marriage. They're together today. They're both in Albuquerque, New Mexico today, but they typically live separately from one another. Robyn's currently you're living in Southern California right now, right? Yeah.
Yep.
and Reverend Gil's in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And they're currently together. And before we started recording this today, I asked them how it was going with her visit there. And she said, oh, it's just good to be married. And that did my heart such good to hear that. So I'm going to start our podcast today by asking you two, how do you do that? How do you have a successful marriage that doesn't conform to the typical standards of what society says marriage should be? I mean, you're living in separate places, and you guys can go for it and respond to that however you want.
Well, I'll start and just say that it's because we have an established relationship and because in a lot of ways, especially Robyn is super supportive of what's important in my life to me. And we're also, part of us is very loyal, which is part of why you're still in Southern California, because we were living with our godkids full time and we didn't want to break up the family. And so we figured out how to have me here and the rest of the family there and to do things back and forth. And there have been different iterations of who's been where. And it's been kind of creative.
Yeah, we figured out how to be a family across the states. So we really, that was a conscious decision to make sure that everybody was just moving. We were moving and that it was just going to look a new way. But what I wanted to say was, when you said that, because I'm thinking, it wasn't always that way, and anyone who knows us knows that we've been together now 22 years. So basically for the first 20 years, we were inseparable.
Oh, that's true.
We were inseparable. I mean, it was like Robyn and Gil was one word, because where one was, the other one was. And so, yeah, I mean, I think when this opportunity arose for Gil to move to New Mexico, we just had to make choices. And I think, because of our strong relationship, like when you said, how do you do that? I think what we said was, how can we not? I mean, because in order to fulfill all of the obligations and things that we thought were important, we really had to just readjust what we thought and adapt to a new situation and go, how are we going to navigate this? Knowing that, I mean, our marriage was first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like anything changed there other than the distance, obviously, which is huge. But we still knew, our priority was still our marriage. And so I think we chose to look at a lot of the positive aspects of it and how we were super grateful that we could do it, that we could still be there for the rest of our family and we could kind of navigate back and forth, even though sometimes the distance in between seemed long, the distance between seeing each other. But thank God for Zooms.
Well, and I think another piece that we realized after the first few months, we were talking and kind of started laughing because it was like, oh, this is how our relationship started, because we started as a long distance relationship over the phone. So we spent many months where we had never met each other in person, and so that was sort of this anchor. That was like, oh, we've done this before. It was kind of interesting.
Wonderful. So talk to me about, you mentioned one already, loyalty. And I'm asking about the spiritual principles that are underneath the success that you are having in your marriage. Because we like to teach around here, everything begins within, in principle. It begins in principle. And you already talked about the loyalty factor, but are there others?
Yeah, I'm going to start because I think that when Gil got the job in New Mexico, the world sort of stopped, and all of our friends were like holding their breath, and our family going, "What's going to happen? What are you going to do?" And there was the question of, am I going to move? Because first of all, most of the people that knew me couldn't imagine me not being in California, because I am that California girl. I mean, it's just, they couldn't imagine me moving out of LA when I moved to Northern California. And then it was like, okay, at least she's in California. So to go to New Mexico was a big thing. And I think getting to the quality piece for me, I had to really sit with that because, yeah, I wasn't that enamored with moving to New Mexico. For no other reason, well, mostly because they don't have water. I need a body of water.
Yes.
I need a beach. I need the river is
muddy.
Muddy. Yeah. I need water. Anyway, but I had to stop in and be true to myself. And also be true to my vows that I took in marriage, and really evaluate, I think, on some level, like what was going to be best for us, and for the moment. And even though I knew it was going to be hard to be apart and to try to do it this way, we also, weighed out some benefits. And as time goes on, we can look back and see more benefits, but I think it was really getting still and listening to what was being called forth, because between our family obligations and our commitments to each other, we really had to stop and listen and evaluate and make sure that what one person was hearing, the other one was hearing, that we weren't like on two different tracks, or, and I think it took a lot of adjusting. I mean, we haven't even really talked about it, but I think, on some level, I'm going to guess, I'm going to intuit for you that there were moments of, what do you mean you're not coming?
Mm-hmm.
And
especially when I was trying to move
yeah.
from different houses. What do you mean you're not coming to help me? But there's stuff that had to happen, things that had to go on in our process here, and we couldn't do it together because we just couldn't do it together. We had to figure out how to do it in different places. And there was a time I went back to California and I had to figure out how to remain engaged with the center here when I had family obligations there that I had to take care of, So there's been that aspect of it too, where even sometimes when we are together, it feels like we're maneuvering something other than our marriage, if you will. We're maneuvering our other relationships and trying to maintain things with everybody, or literally we were moving out of a house, things where it was not like we got to get together and have date nights and stuff. Although she did take me on a date night recently here in Albuquerque, I'll tell you. But I would go to one other spot, and that is Robyn has always been able to, and you talk about principles, she's always been able to see the truth in me of who I am. And believe me, I'm pretty sure that's how she puts up with me most of the time, is that she looks right past me to what she knows is really me. And so the stuff that shows up in front of her, sometimes she's like, just get that out of the way, move that over. I know that's not all you. So, when things are a little rough, or I'm not responding right, or, whatever, she really just holds that space for me to find my way back. So I think that's one of the things that really helps us.
So I think balance is one of the things, figuring out the balance. And I think really listening and really being able to, I think listening more than anything, because I was going to say communicating, which of course is part of it, But on some levels, on so many levels, I don't even think we communicated everything as much as we listened to what wasn't being said and where it was coming from and understood from a different vantage. Because I think if we had tried to map it out of our human selves, I don't think it would have worked. I really don't. If we'd gone, okay, you'll be there, I'll be here, we'll see each other this often, and da 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 da, and you this and me that. And we didn't really do it like that. We just kept listening.
Well, and in addition to that, we had our sister and the god kids, and the three of us, the three adults, sat down and visioned before I accepted the position and before we made any decisions about what this could look like as a family. What's the intention of this family? So
that's awesome. The three of you actually sat down and did a visioning process.
Yep.
And did you do that in the standard way where you said what wants to be known here and what is there? Yeah, all those good questions.
All that good stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
We did.
Yeah, we did that as he started the candidating process and then, when he got the job as well. But different candidating processes just to really, because it's a time of, those times when you're making those big decisions and moves and things, and the same was happening for our sister. It was a time where we had to surrender and go, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know where anybody's going to go. We didn't know where she was going to get a job and if we were going to move. And there was a lot. So yeah, that was a big process.
Yeah. And I think that the key when we go to spiritual principle was just really holding on to knowing that it would be okay. And when we visioned, it was like we could see, a family that wasn't all living together, that could migrate back and forth. And, so the intention's always been that, in a sense, everybody's welcome everywhere. That's part of why we're so excited about the house we just moved into, because it's really big enough to do that and much easier than the previous place I was in. So, there's space for everybody to show up and not be on top of each other. So, it's a real gift to have that here and to have that in San Diego as well.
Yes. Oh, yay. So to boil it down into a nutshell for our listeners and viewers today, this couple has a different, beautiful relationship based in spiritual principles. And the principles are specifically active listening and staying in balance with all things, and using a visioning process to discover what wants to be known and what wants to be revealed and what direction to go in. And I think that's a beautiful thing. Actually, visioning is more of a practice than a principle, but it's based in principle. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a way to get to it. Yeah.
Way to get to the principle. So that's wonderful stuff. Thank you guys for sharing that with me. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, as you're saying that too, I was thinking, that's also when we perform weddings, that's one of the principles we work with couples or practices, that is to have them vision for their wedding. Vision, because we tend to want to get out of the paradigm that it's the girl's day, it's the woman's day, it's whatever she wants. It's like, what do you want as a couple? And not just on that day, but what is your marriage about? And so in that way, I would just say it kind of brought us back to what our marriage is about. And I think in the beginning, I think we were very clear that we had a mission. I mean, we had things to do, and we could support each other. And so for me, knowing that I was supporting him by not being here in many ways, that allowed him to grow by himself while I wasn't here, and things like that. The end goal is, of course, for us to be back together. It's not like or the advocates of separate housing marriages. I mean, that's the end goal. But yeah, so it just brought me back to that place of thinking, you know, that really what is for everybody, for anybody, whether it's a marriage, a partnership, or your own life, your partnership with yourself is opening up to what the vision is and being able to move forward in that way.
Yeah.
You know what you reminded me of there is when we were visioning for our wedding and our marriage, and we had the hit that it was bigger than us. That it wasn't all about us.
Our wedding.
Our wedding. And so us getting together, and really, you know, when you just said that, it just struck me how true that's been, about how many things it's been about us being able to do together, in part because we're married, you know, in part because we're just in that relationship. So it's easy to maneuver those things. But we have done so many different things in terms of facilitating and workshops and creating things and learning together and all of that, you know, just so, and it is bigger than us.
Yeah, it is. Speak to me of what the visioning process is, mostly for our listeners, in, you know, not too much detail because of time factor, but tell me what that process is. I know what it is, but I'm going to let you guys do it.
All right. Want me to go? Okay. So the visioning process, when Robyn was training to be a practitioner, and then when I joined her in that, well, I joined in after she finished, but I joined into training for a practitioner. We were at Agape International Spiritual Center in Southern California with Michael Beckwith, and you know, that had been a practice that had been established there, and it kind of gave name and expression to an idea, and the idea being that instead of trying to like see into the future and that kind of thing, that we open ourselves up to allowing spirit to come through and speak to us about what's coming forth, you know, and we allow whatever it is that's coming through to guide us, if you will. Yeah. And so the basic process is that you sit down, you're in a meditative state, and you ask the question, what is God's highest vision for my life, for this process, for our marriage, whatever it is.
Your job, for your career, whatever you're visioning.
And then, you know, and then from there, you know, what's it look like? What's it taste like? What's it smell like? What's it feel like? And so you kind of get the emotional side, if you will, of all of this. So you're not just in your head, you're really kind of feeling into it. And then, you know, and then it goes from there, and you can ask some other questions and stuff. But basically, you go to what is it that I'm bringing to this? You know, and what does Spirit see me bringing into this? And then what do I need to embrace for this? And what do I need to release for this to show up? You know, what's the thing I hold on to that doesn't allow this thing to show up?
And I think one of the important things that we always stress before leading visioning is to let go of any ideas that you have about it. It's not on your vision board. I mean, it may be, but it's not, you're not looking for, you know, that specific outcome of, I want a red Ferrari, or, you know, how that looks. It's really allowing it to come through. And sometimes it comes through choppy and you don't understand what it means. And other times it doesn't. You know, like one of the things that happened, just I'll make a long story short, is that when we were visioning for our wedding, we'd vision about 3 times, and our friend kept coming, and every time she'd be like, all I get is a window. I didn't get anything. And we'd be like, it's okay, it's okay. Every time, all I got was a window. And on the day of our wedding, which was in Hawaii, in Maui, on the beach, that we didn't know where we were going for our wedding till we got to the island, but we were there with the whole Agape choir and like texting people, telling them where our wedding was going to be. And we're having it at the beach at this Kealani Hotel, beautiful. And I'm walking down the pathway, and my friend is in the front going, And I'm like, and she's like, that's the window I saw. And I turned around and there was this beautiful stained glass window in the hotel that overlooked the thing, and so I say that to say that pieces of the vision come together later. We don't always understand them, but it's being willing to sit with them and just allow them to be. Somebody else, we had seen umbrellas. Somebody else got umbrellas when we were doing the visioning. And I kept saying to Gil, do we need to buy rain insurance? And he's like, no, it's not the side of the island that rains. I'm like, but it says they have rain insurance. He's like, no. And when I walked out, and turned the corner and all the people were there, they were standing with umbrellas because of the sun. So the vision appears. It appears and it unfolds. And that's the trick is, are we willing to pay attention and stay awake and aware and listen?
And not try to force fit, because none of we couldn't have maneuvered getting that window. We couldn't have maneuvered what those umbrellas meant and how it looked, we just were trusting that, okay, well, let's see where that shows up, but taking the steps forward as we went forward.
One more thing in our vision. But it's important because people need to know that like it just doesn't look the way you think. We had thought somebody had talked about in our vision like butterflies or something. So we were like all, love, peace, aloha. We're like, okay, we're gonna get butterflies and release them like Kenny Loggins did at his wedding. So they fly and blah, blah, blah. And we got to this part.
We had it all written in too.
We had it written in. We get to the part in the wedding and our minister looks at us and she goes, butterflies? And I go, I didn't order them. And she goes, okay. And at that point, somebody stood up and went, look, there's whales. And we look out and there's a mother and a baby whale breaching. And animals had showed up in our wedding thing. And we're like, okay, and provided by spirit. It's like, it wasn't about us trying to get the butterflies in the boxes. And I'm contemplating, is that cruel? Maybe we shouldn't do that. Maybe that's not really a good thing to do. It's bigger than that. The animals showed up, and it was beautiful and it was wonderful. And it's really a beautiful thing when you just let the vision unfold, which is kind of what I think we've done in this
move and being separated.
Yeah.
We have.
Oh my goodness. Wonderful. That's wonderful. So before I ask you about the Conference of Americas, what's your anniversary date?
April 12th.
April 12th. And will that be 22 or 23?
23 next time. 23. Yep. This was 22. And it's also my father's birthday.
Oh, okay.
And so my father was actually able to be there, and that was wonderful.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, you guys. We're almost out of time here. My goodness. You two are going to the Conference of Americas in Mexico, August 5th through 10th in Lake Chapala. Tell our listeners a little bit about what the Conference of Americas is and what you're going to be doing there.
First.
The Conference of Americas has been going on for years, and it started out as a conference where people in South America could get together and have a conference like we do here.
It was a way to support practitioners and stuff right at the very beginning. Yeah.
And it's grown, and we're excited to be there this year. Reverend Sonny Cantrell will be there, Reverend Sunshine Day, and there's all kinds of people coming that will be speaking and doing workshops this year. It's about I am the light, you are the light.
Yeah.
And it's about being the light, and the light that we are. And I think we're super excited about this because we've really been talking about how to connect more globally, because we here in Science of Mind talk about global a lot, global connections and all of that. And so we're really trying to walk our talk and connect and really become more of that global organization. So we're excited to be connecting with people. Gil and I recently did some work with a center in Merida and worked with their practitioners, and it's just very exciting. So there's going to be all kinds of workshops and play shops and speakers, and everything I've seen about it has always been fabulous. Anyone who goes again. And yeah, if you can join us, because my feeling is that this thing after this year is going to grow. I just think that as an organization, we're going to take it on and want to make it our international conference, and then it's going to be in a bigger place. And so come while it's intimate. And it was started by Dr. Reverend Rebecca Pena, and she will be there. And
it's a bilingual conference, so everything is translated. So therefore I can speak in English and I can understand others who are speaking in Spanish, and we can all work it out together. Robyn can just do her thing and go back and forth, and I don't know how that'll go, but I don't know what she'll decide on.
Because I'm bilingual. Yeah. But anyway, it's a good time. So yeah, and it's, oh my gosh, Karen Lindsley, it is so reasonable, the pricing. Like it's about a day of what we spent to be in Charleston.
Oh my goodness.
Literally, the packages are somewhere around $500 to $700, and that includes your 5 nights hotel, the workshops and conference, and food.
Wow, that is quite reasonable. Yeah,
it's super reasonable.
Yeah,
and there's days off to go to hot springs and spas and pyramids and all kinds of things. So whatever your interest is, you can explore and find out new things.
To me, next year. So news on my front is that this weekend, today's Wednesday, the day after tomorrow, I leave for my first weekend with my new interim minister assignment.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Not good. Thank you. The timing is not real good for me to leave town. I had to schedule my weekends with them around stuff that's already been scheduled, and I'm already scheduled to go to Vegas in October for their New Thought conference there with Stacy and oh my goodness, I'm drawing a blank. I'm sorry. At the center in Las Vegas.
Stacy and it went out of my head too, but we're talking about going to that as well. She invited us to that as well.
Oh, I'd love to see you guys. Yeah.
So where can we ask where your new assignment is?
It's in Bakersfield.
Bakersfield. Okay.
Yes, which is a wonderful drive for me. So get this, guys. You know that highway when you came to visit me and you drove down from Tahoe and you cut through the valley and then you turned on Highway 395 to get out here. It's a straight shot down south 395 for me, 6 hours. So it's a beautiful drive through high desert, which turns to a little bit of mountains, which turns to some more agricultural stuff, which turns to some more desert and then low desert. And it's just an absolutely gorgeous drive. Yeah, so I have.
You can visit Tahoe. I mean, not Tahoe. You can visit Mammoth, and you can visit.
Yeah, it goes
all kinds of places along the way if you want.
All those places. Yeah, and I have some exciting new books on tape to listen to on my drive. So I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Anyway, well,
congratulations.
Thank you so much. Yeah. We are at the end of our time here. We're well over our time.
Yeah.
But I really enjoyed you two coming to join me today, and I hope you all did as well. I wanted to give you the information. This will also be in the show notes. If you would like to talk with Robyn and or Gil for any reason at all, their email is robynandgil@rockinthelove.com. By the way, Rockin' the Love, they have a podcast of their own that goes live. It's live on Facebook every Wednesday at noon Pacific, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Noon Pacific time, which is 1 o'clock Mountain Time, correct?
Time.
Yes, 1 o'clock Mountain Time. On Facebook, live on Facebook. I was a guest there a few weeks back. It was a blast. We had a really good time. By the way, your producer owes me an email. Just pass that a message along to him because he asked to be on the podcast and I sent him 2 mails and I've got crickets so far. So tell Michael.
They're off at the INTA conference.
Oh, is
so.
that why? Okay. Tell Michael he needs to send me an email. And
okay.
what else do I need to tell you guys before I close? You can find out more about Fearlessly Feral Living at my website, fearlesslyferal.org. And there's also ways where you can support the podcast on that website, and it's much appreciated. And in the meantime, until we meet again, I am knowing Fearlessly Feral Living for me and for you. And again, Fearlessly Feral Living is a focus ministry of Centers for Spiritual Living. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye for now.